I haven't posted much lately on current events because I've been so busy. And you know, I made sure I was going to be busy this summer because I need to. You know, 68 years of age and nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed for anybody. But the older you get, the more that's true. And so I went to the Redwoods. I've done some local hikes. I've done group things like to the waterfalls, which I've posted, and Castle Crags in California, Northern California, and the other day at Crater Lake. So I posted a few little brief videos and stuff. But you know, it's nice to just do the things in the real world. I mean, not that online isn't real, but you're out there outside of the house and enjoying stuff. And so next week I plan to go to Lassen Volcanic National Park, where a place I haven't been since 2006, and I'm also going to take in Bernie Falls too. So I'm going to do that in 2 days. I could do it in 1 day, but I'm going to take 2 days and do it. So spend the night in Redding. Anyway, yeah, this morning my brother told me that famed crooner Tony Bennett had passed away just a couple of weeks short of his 97th birthday. Actually, his birthday is on the same day as my sister, and he was exactly 10 years older. So my sister's up there in years, and so she'll be 87 on August 3rd, and Tony Bennett would have been 97. But he had a long, distinguished career, and of course he enjoyed singing the American Songbook, the so-called American Songbook, and he was best known for I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And I was listening to him, or watching him, listening to him, a performance, 1964 performance on Ed Sullivan, and he was a very good singer, and he knew how to phrase words, you know, to give the songs meaning and stuff like that. He was very good, and everybody loved him. Everybody. I don't think anybody ever had a bad word to say about Tony Bennett as a person, and he just everybody liked him, and his popularity spanned several generations. And he was out there, even though he'd been diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2016, he was out there still performing up to age 95. He was doing it. So it didn't set him back too bad. But anyway, he had, and I wrote this blog post about his career a little bit, and it says here on one of the articles that have been written about him, he was born Anthony Dominic Benedetto on August 3rd, 1926 in Astoria in the Queens borough of New York City. He got his start in music after having studied singing at the American Theater Wing. He was reported to have been discovered by the legendary African-American singer Pearl Bailey, who hired him to open for her in 1949. A year later, Bennett began to make his own mark, singing with Columbia Records and crooning such hits as Rags to Riches and Because of You. His signature hit, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, arrived in 1962 as a B-side that launched him to the A-list. The songs effectively straddled the worlds of pop and jazz, and I can vouch for that with the Ed Sullivan clip, that it was very jazzy. It was, yeah, a lot of jazz influence. While earning critical acclaim, Bennett won the 1962 Grammys for Record of the Year and Solo Vocal Performance, and his peak years were in the 1960s. And then I'm going to kind of segue into a little bit of humor about him. He probably wouldn't have thought of, he probably would have rather not even remember it, but he's remembered by a lot of us out here who love bad movies. He, like Elvis and the Beatles and Frank Sinatra and countless other popular entertainers in the music field tried their hand at making movies. And Bennett only tried it once, and that was being co-starring with Stephen Boyd in that infamous Turkey the Oscar. That has to be one of my most favorite movies of all time, because it's so bad it's good. It was one of those all-star movies. Yeah, they had a lot of big names in it, but it was a big flop. Skidoo was one that was like that. So was Candy, which was the worst of the three by far, because there was nothing good about it. Nothing redeemable. But anyway, Bennett played Jaime Kelly in that movie, and he served as Stephen Boyd's character, Frankie Fain, his conscience, because Fain had no conscience. He was a sociopath who would do anything to get what he wanted. And then, even if he meant cheating, if it meant cheating to get the Academy Award. And I go into explaining what the plot is, but if you haven't seen that movie, you need to see it, especially around the time of the Academy Awards. And the best way to see the movie, and it's on DVD, it might be streamed, but the best way to see it is as a double feature with Valley of the Dolls. And it's, you know, bad movie Nirvana if you see that. If you see those movies together back to back, you're in heaven. But anyway, so Bennett gave this performance, and then there was so much critical savaging of the movie that he never made another movie of any kind of consequence. So that was his debut and his farewell. And so anyway, I'm not going to even give away the plot. I explain a little bit what it's about here. But just see it for yourself. And there are clips on YouTube showing his performance as Jaime Kelly. And anyway, but he was genuinely, despite making a rather dumb decision, trying his hand at acting, he had a really good career. He had a good life. He had some setbacks on drugs, but he overcame that. But it was a life well lived. So I thought I would know Tony Bennett, and so that was one thing. And so that's somebody that had class in life. But we have a lot of people who don't have any class, such as Richard Levine, who, I don't know why the hell he hasn't been pushed to resign his job as Assistant Secretary of Health. I don't know why the hell he's not kicked out of the curb. And there is no evidence to support butchery of kids. They call it gender affirming. It's all bullshit. It's all lobotomy type crap. It's actually more invasive than lobotomies, what they're doing to kids. And it should be illegal across the board. It will be. All of this stuff will be against the law. And it will be for everybody. Because nobody changes sex, and to me, the ultimate failure rests on the psychiatric profession, because they just decided to throw their hands up and just say, oh, we'll just give them whatever they want. These screwed up people. And they are screwed up. If you think you're of the opposite sex or whatever, you're screwed up. And a lot of these guys, no, I mean, everybody knows they're not. But a lot of these guys are just wanting to get their perv on. Actually, all of the men. Virtually all the men are. And I noticed Twitter the other day had a big, long thing about queer theory. They had a ton of stuff about that. And finally, a few people are waking up to find out what the culprit is. Okay, it's that. And what kills me about queer theory is so many of the promoters were and are women who promoted that damn shit. Promoted making excuses for sexual perversions, male sexual perversions. and thinking that's something we should strive for. Normalize the perversions and marginalize normal behavior. Makes sense, doesn't it? So anyway, that was that. And I had watched an interview for last year with Derek Jensen, and he talked about queer theory. And if I remember, I'll link that one. But anyway, yeah, this guy's a quack, and he needs to resign. And then, let's see. What else do we have here? We got a lot of damn shit. Yeah, who's the fairest of all? Is it Valentino Petrillo, or is it Rick Coley? Which one's the fairest? They're both cheaters, but which one's the fairest of all? Okay, so I talked about old Petrillo here a couple of years ago when he tried to win in the Special Olympics. I think it was the Paralympics. Excuse me, the Paralympics, and he didn't do too well. And so I thought, well, that was kind of the end of him. But of course, and he has vision issues. That's what qualifies him to be in the Paralympics. But he's not qualified to be in the women's section. But he's old. He's like, well, what the hell? How old is he now? He's in his late 40s. They say he was 41 when he went back into it. Oh, shit. Why don't I look him up? Find it. I think it's in here. Petrillo. Was he born in 73 or 74? He was born in 1973, so he's almost 50. So this explains it, see? He can't compete. He can't be competitive with younger men. So the way you do it, the way you stay active in this stuff, instead of finding a legitimate line of work, you go out and you steal from women. So this guy made headlines by winning the 400-meter race at the Women's Paralympic World Championship. And of course, he liked winning, he liked stealing from women, but everybody else in the world was pissed off. And how the hell you can even defend it? There's no defense for this. This guy is a man who cheated. So anyway, that's the latest on that dude. And then there was another cheater. And yeah, the world would probably be better off if we didn't have beauty pageants. But you know, it's still, and I talked about this a long time ago, it's still a way for women to earn scholarships and things like this, and help whatever careers they've got. It's a stepping stone, and that's why women have done it in the past. But now, despite these transvestites having their own pageants, they do have their own pageants. No, that's not enough. They've got to go ahead and steal titles from women in women's pageants. And so this guy, and of course the guy that owns, I think the owner of this is also a transvestite. And I think I may have talked about him. But anyway, this man, back a couple of weeks ago, he was crowned Miss Netherlands for the first time in beauty pageant's history, and now is set to compete for the Miss Universe title. Rick Coley, or whatever the hell his name is, 22, made history after he won the competition on Sunday. The new Mr. Netherlands wore a red gown as he was overcome with emotion while receiving his crown from his predecessor, Ona Moody, and reigning Miss Universe Arbani Gabriel from the USA. And these women just go along with it. You know, they don't get out, walk out. They go along with this shit. The man stood victorious with a bouquet of flowers while his competitors applauded. He later took to Twitter to exclaim, "I did it! Yeah, you sure did it! You're proud to steal, you damn thief!" And the Miss or Mr. Universe, depending on who wins, well, actually, there is a Mr. Universe of the bodybuilders. So we'd have to call this Luniverse. Miss Universe or Mr. Luniverse 2023 will be held in El Salvador in December, although an exact date has not been confirmed, and will see contestants from 24 countries battle it out to claim the title. Only 24 countries? They probably ought to get rid of it. And doesn't he look like he passes? Oh my God. Sure mistake him. Yeah, he really fits in with the other women. Oh my God. Obvious male features. Holy shit. And look at those shoes. That's probably size 13. Those damn feet. All dead giveaways. No matter what the hell you do to yourself. And yeah, there's that guy. Yeah, the guy, a transvestite, bought the Miss Universe organization. And I did talk about it. And he claims he's transgender. And anyway, I'm not even going to say, I called him JJ. I think it's what I called him. Or AJ. Because his name's impossible to pronounce without mangling it. So anyway, yeah, another day, another cheater. And was there anything else I was going to talk? Oh yeah, the California school superintendent was thrown out of a meeting. Now this was today. After opposing a new rule forcing teachers to notify parents if a student asked to identify as a different gender. The thing is, nobody identifies. I'm sick and tired of the conflating of gender and sex. A different sex, okay? And anyway, that's a parental thing that needs to be handled. That's not for teachers to be doing. And because that could destroy kids. So you don't sit there and coddle them. And parents reacted with cheers of "Leave our kids alone" as a California superintendent was thrown out of a school board hearing for aggressively opposing a policy forcing teachers to notify parents if their child is transgender. Tony Thurman, the California State Superintendent of Schools, was booted from the Chino Valley Unified School Board meeting on Thursday after going over his allotted time to vigorously attack the policy. Over 300 people filled the main hall at Don Lugo High School in Chino, California, to weigh in at the hearing, which was marked with hostility as Thurman clashed with the school board's president, Sonia Shaw. After Thurman condemned the new guidelines for putting transgender students at risk, Shaw fired back that the official was proposing things that pervert children. Yeah, it's a perversion. The board eventually voted 4-1 to introduce a parental notification policy, a move which was met with cheers from the audience. Yeah, the parents need to be notified. Yeah, they do. That's really, they have to be. That's like anything. You know, they have to be notified on stuff. And that's not your job to hide things from parents as an educator. Anyway, so I've gone really long at the mouth. But those were a few things that jumped out at me this week. So anyway, that is it.